Amazon One Medical presents Painful Thoughts.
I've been on hold to make a doctor's appointment for 23 minutes now. The automated voice has told me 47 times that my call is very important to them. I'm starting to think that they don't think my call is important at all.
With Amazon One Medical 24/7 virtual care, you'll get help fast without having to remain on the line to make an appointment. Amazon One Medical. Healthcare just got less painful.
It's back to school season, and Clorox is donating 2 million disinfecting wipes to classrooms across America. Because back to school means things can get a little bit messy. Just ask second grade teacher Mr. Torres.
Put me and just one Clorox wipe on a team? We can take on crayon smudges, sticky fingerprints on every surface, sneezes on the door handle, juice box explosion by the sink, snack crumbs, and don't even get me started on the bathroom passes.
Clorox disinfecting wipes. Teacher's #1 wipe.
Think about it. Bathroom passes.
Clean feels good. Based on unit sales data.
Marketers, you know that feeling when your content just works? When you crush a viral trend before 10 a.m.? When one tiny tweak to a landing page sends click-through rates through the roof? That's Contentful. Dynamic content made blissfully simple. Contentful helps you create and launch personalized experiences instantly across any digital channel. No stress, no limits. Only possibilities. Come get the feels at Contentful.com.
Celaena awakens to an empty bed, and while she thinks nothing of it, an entire day of isolation leaves her panicked that history is repeating itself. The captain of the guard awakens to find he has been taken hostage by none other than the rebels Celaena has been hunting. And when Aderlin's assassin shows up, she cuts them down mercilessly. It is only when Archer reveals himself and tells Celaena that Nehemia was working with them that she stops, a new fear taking over when she learns Nehemia has been taken by the king for questioning. Desperately, Celaena runs back to the glass castle, only to find Nehemia and her guards murdered in cold blood. Celaena lashes out at everyone around her, including Chaol, and the captain of the guard has to detain and imprison the assassin before she hurts herself and everyone else around her. Far away in Calcutta, the slaves of Ilway mourn their fallen princess.
Hi there, we're BookTok for BookTok with Jack and Amy, your book besties who take the novels you love seriously.
This is Jack.
And I'm Amy.
And we embrace and respect modern fantasy, romance, and romantasy books written by women. And so it is in our nature to analyze these books as we would any other novel we might have dissected in school.
With our combined 13 years of literary academic training, we use our education to analyze and give voice to reasons why you may love or hate today's popular books.
This is part 1 of this week's episode, where we're discussing chapters 27 through 34 of Sarah J. Maas's second Throne of Glass novel, Crown of Midnight.
Before we dive in, let's talk about Spilt. Spoilers, perspective and interpretation, language, and themes.
Spoilers. While our discussion is about Throne of Glass, important context from the first 3 novels in this series will be discussed without spoiler warnings. That is specifically Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, and Heir of Fire. This is not a read-along for anyone who hasn't read at least these 3 books, and you will be spoiled from here on out. So please take this as your only spoiler warning. For all other breadcrumbs beyond Heir of Fire and other SJM works, we will keep those to the breadcrumbs and broomsticks area at the end of the episode.
Perspective and interpretation. What we discuss in this episode are strictly our personal interpretation of the text. We do not speak for Sarah J. Maas and in no way know her intentions for her books or characters. We also know our listeners have their own personal views and opinions, and we encourage you to share your thoughts with us because every perspective and interpretation is worth exploring.
Language. We try so very hard not to curse, and I feel it. I think this is the episode where we don't curse. However, explicit language does occur. I have faith.
Okay. Themes. We also discuss some heavy subjects throughout the podcast that can include themes of sex, violence, abuse, depression, self-harm, and death. While we will do our best to give trigger warnings for the darker themes, we will discuss these topics when they are important to the text. Listener discretion is advised.
As always, we love keeping the conversation going because our listeners are so good at finding things we've overlooked or missed completely. You can share your interpretation of the text with us by posting on social media, tagging us in stories, sending us DMs, or submitting to the form on our website. We also post more exclusive content and host live streams for our Patreon supporters. You can find us at patreon.com/BookTok. If we think the fallout of Nehemia's death is not earned, then how would we change it?
Purely by that question, we're implying that we don't think it's earned, the fallout.
I just want to set it up. This is not the most gracious of episodes, I think.
No, we are definitely not gracious. Themes we see in this section include idolization, rage, trauma, and guilt.
Chapter 27 starts, and Celaena's feeling good. She's feeling optimistic, and that is the first sign that something bad is about to happen. Quote, "She lay there for a while, content to daydream, to imagine a time when they could have a whole uninterrupted days with each other." I mean, if there's anything SJM is really good at, that is setting us up for quick setups. She does great overall subs, but these quick setups is so good because, we're feeling optimistic, we're feeling hopeful. We want this for Celaena, so we know that something absolutely devastating is about to happen. Because let's crush joy.
Let's crush joy. Now, if you've read enough SJM work, you can tell when she is doing this setup because there are some clear signals things are not peachy keen or are not going to be peachy keen. Quote, "For a while, content to daydream, to imagine a time when they could have whole interrupted days with each other. When her stomach started growling, she decided it was a sign." Now, food is power. That's my thing. That's my shtick. And so you can say in this moment, Celaena's stomach growling as a warning that her daydreams with Chaol are not where her power lies. Now, is this a stretch? Absolutely, 100%. But we're analyzing it as if it's literature, so I get to say what I want to say.
Yeah, we stretched earlier. Right? We get to stretch however the fuck we want. Oh, shit, I damn it. So much for cursing.
My prediction was correct. Now, Celaena being hungry is in character. She's always hungry. At the same time, though, you can't deny the link between her hunger and her need for food constantly and her power and the fact that she is powerful. So for her to wake up, think about Chaol, and then be hungry, to me implies something. This is quickly followed later with, quote, "It wasn't that unusual for Chaol to be busy, so she dined alone." Again, another stretch, but we're getting signals that Celaena's strength lies in herself.
I'm impressed that she wasn't spiraling, be like, does he want to break up now? Is that why he's avoiding me? So props to her on there. As Celaena reflects on her days, and she's still in her good mood right now, and she reflects on just how everything has been going, and I want to address the undertone that I see in this quote. She probably needed some rest too, since the word knew she hadn't been getting any sleep this past week. Not that she minded. So it's implying that sex equals complacency, more than just joy, right? Joy is meant to be taken away, but sex is meant to be punished. And I think that this really is going to be the thing that's going to make Celaena feel really guilty with Nehemia, because she's like, oh my God, my friend was so sad and depressed and I was just banging it out. And, you can be multifaceted. You can be there and bang it out,
Yeah.
It's okay. But I'm going to choose not to blame SJM for this, actually. I'm going to remove SJM saying that she's sex shaming. Instead, I'm going to say that this is Celaena setting up for resenting Chaol. And she's going to find anything she can to resent him. And sex is going to be a big part of that. In fact, this whole episode is Celaena setting up to blame him and herself and everyone. Except Nehemia.
Exactly. I mean, SJM is setting this up for maximum pain. That's what this is about. I'm just like, what did I try to write? This is while I was at the car dealership. So I'm like, huh?
You start writing down payments.
Okay. Now, as Celaena goes about her day, SJM pays special attention to how petulant she is acting, especially when it comes to Nehemia. Now, when we look at this in hindsight, knowing what's about to happen, Celaena is just a naive 18-year-old. What is going to hurt about this is that she is going to regret, and we are going to regret for her, what she doesn't do today. Quote, "She didn't particularly feel like talking to her friend, Nehemia, and if the princess was foolish enough to think of starting a rebellion, she'd stay well enough away from Nehemia until she came to her senses. The whole play-by-play is just another layer of SJM setting us up for her heartbreak.
Yeah. I didn't even I glazed past that in the sense that like she would feel guilty that she chose to ignore her friend that day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is great heartbreak. She did a wonderful job.
Mm-hmm.
The day goes by and Celaena gets worried since she hasn't heard from Chaol and she's a better person than me, thinking that he's not avoiding her. And she begins to, because Celaena has other trauma than abandonment issues. So she's got a different set. That's why she doesn't compare. But what she does do is compare Chaol to Sam. Quote, "Yet Sam had been her equal in many ways too, and he'd still been caught and tortured by Rorik Farron, still died the most brutal death she'd ever seen. And if Chaol, she was running now, like Sam, Chaol was admired by almost everyone, and when they'd taken Sam from her, it hadn't been because of anything Sam had done. No, they'd done it to get at her." So we really need to emphasize, like, at this moment, Chaol equals Sam. Because at a different point, Sam's going to equal Nehemia. So right now, we are getting a direct correlation, and she's freaking out because there is no separation between Chaol and Sam. And I think that's going to put her in the mindset that once Nehemia dies, it's going to be like a transference of guilt that's already spiraling here. And that's why I think Celaena is going to be more lost into the grief of this death because of Sam.
Yeah. I completely agree. Like you said, we see Celaena thinking of Chaol as Sam, and I'm going to even suggest when the Sam factor is transferred to Nehemia, then Chaol becomes Rorik Farron to Nehemia's Sam.
Ooh!
Which I think will explain why Celaena tries to kill Chaol, but we'll get there in a moment.
Oh my God. No, get it now. That was great. I'm excited.
No, I've got other points about it later.
Okay.
When it's more relevant.
All right. Because the situation is so reminiscent of Sam, Celaena begins to step into her old self. Quote, "The killing calm," Arabin Hamel had once called it. Even he had never realized just how calm she could get when she went over the edge. This is important for two reasons. Number one, Celaena has been thinking more and more lately about the honor of Terrasen, right? It's been about like, well, Chaol's super honorable. And I guess Terrasen could be honorable too. And maybe Terrasen's worth saving. Instead, now she's stepping into her role as Arabin's protege, and she is losing her identity altogether. By Celaena losing her identity, though, she has to put on an old title, right? So we're moving away from Terrasen. We're going into her old assassin self. Quote, "If they wanted Aderlin's assassin, they'd get her, and word helped them when she arrived." It's funny because like the people that she's going to meet have a literal mask on and she has a metaphorical mask, but her metaphorical mask is so much more scary than theirs. And it creates distance from the reader though, right? SJM is doing this on purpose because the reader is no longer reading Celaena. The reader is reading Aderlin's assassin. And I think that will make it, again, another forgivable act when she goes in and kills all these people. I mean, earlier in the season, you and I were talking, it was one of the episodes, and I was like, well, she's only killed like 2 people. And you're like, well, and all the people that in this moment. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And I think it's done in a way that it's so removed because we're not even going to see her kill people in her perspective.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a great point. Now, I think to Jack's point about Celaena, losing one identity and putting another on, there's also continual references to Celaena's iciness. And I've talked about this before. If you go back to episode 2, it was basically made a comparison to an ice queen or a snow queen. That association with ice and cold continues here. Now, I started reading Heir of Fire this week and wondered, if Celaena's magic is fire, why is she compared to ice or iciness and coldness all the time? And I realized, I think it's because she's in her human form and therefore disconnected from her power because you can't access magic in Aderlin. Quote, "An icy, endless rage swept through her, wiping away everything except the plan that she could see with brutal clarity." It's also important for us to recognize that in this moment, while we as readers are gaining distance from Celaena, we also have to understand the difference between these people and the people Celaena's been told to kill before. Celaena has refused to kill people the king has sent her to kill because she feels like the king is morally wrong and that his targets are morally good. In this moment, she's willing to kill because she is morally right, and the people who've captured Chaol are morally wrong. And I think that distinction is super important for when Celaena chooses to be violent and to kill. Now, we have to see this now. We have to understand that mindset now before Nehemia's death, because without seeing it, we would never understand how and why Celaena is able to torture Grave in future chapters.
Yeah, I mean, Celaena's just the continued removal of herself and her own ideals, her own morality, is just making it a farther distance between her and reality when it comes to Nehemia's death. Because there's just so much in this thought process that good thing I wasn't an editor when this came out and I was too young to be an editor. We switch into Chaol's point of view, and there's no note to this quote. Quote, Chaol didn't know why they'd chain him up. That was just the dumbest. It's the first line in his perspective. And how did no one circle that and be like, because you're a prisoner, dumbass. I don't. Yeah, that's all. That's all that note is. So it was. I'm like, what are you doing? Okay.
Yeah, fair.
How did that get missed by so many editors? The people that Celaena are fighting are also fighters too. Chaol calls them warriors. I refuse to call them warriors. I feel like it's a big old cop-out. When I notice like it's always like the men in books that call the other one warriors. And I think right now it's because Chaol's embarrassed that he got kidnapped, where he was like, I can tell they're warriors because that's the only way I could get kidnapped. Quote, they all wore long robes and hoods that concealed their masked faces. It's similar to how Celaena's dressed minus the mask. Celaena doesn't have the mask, but the metaphorical one, but she's also has that hood and cloak kind of thing going on and ready to kill. And I think this just shows that they're all on even playing fields. And again, by having them be masked, it doesn't count when she kills them. Like they're not real people. They're masked men who have taken Chaol. So it's more forgiveness from the reader. For the time that Chaol has been with them and is captured, they use a very familiar tactic. Quote, he'd move only once to relieve himself in the corner, since when he'd asked to use the washroom, they just stared at him. And they'd watched him the entire time, hands on their swords. He tried not to snort. This reminds me so much of Kaltain and Soon when Celaena gets put in the dungeons where, I don't know, it just feels like he's getting more dignity, sort of. Like, at least he gets, like, to go to the corner, even though they're all watching him, but he's a guy, so he can just, like, discreetly pee. It's just, yeah. Anyway, I think it's also one of those things where they're trying to be demeaning to him. And I think the part where he almost snorts is entertaining because I feel like that's him trying to get control of the situation. I can't really tell if he's not panicked, but he's not calm. But he's also he's a little on edge, but he's also not exactly freaking out. And I'm wondering how much of this is like what he's imitated from Celaena and putting on his own mask. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Because, I mean, on some level, it's like he doesn't take them seriously, but he's also not armed. So is it a front?
More questions that I have to this night is how is it that none of Chaol's guards, of his men, have come looking for him? How was he not reported missing? How has no one gone to look for Celaena, being like, hey, he missed some meetings today? It's not like we found out this was Labor Day weekend and he got the day off. You know what I mean? It's just, it's more questions that I have. Is he calm because he thinks his soldiers are coming to get him because he's been gone for 12 hours?
Right. No, it's a great point. Now, while Chaol is trying to figure out who these individuals are, he eventually realizes that they are all waiting for Celaena. As soon as he realizes this, that's when Chaol starts to threaten his captors. Never mind that he's still chained up, but whatever. Quote, you hurt her, he said, his voice hoarse from a day without water, and I'll rip you apart with my bare hands. Now, mindset-wise, I will throw Chaol a bone. He and Celaena are kind of on the same page. They're both willing to kill for each other. Like Celaena, Chaol does not have a problem with the idea of killing, which is very different from the start of the book when he was struggling with the fact that he had killed Cain. If it's for Celaena, he has come to the resolution that he is willing to do it. Both Celaena and Chaol are at their own extremes of I'm willing to kill for the person I love. I will just say that those extremes are not equal in extremeness.
I agree, because He says, I will rip you apart with my bare hands. Really? I don't think he has it in him.
I don't think so either.
Do you know who does torture? Celaena.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
She tortures what's-his-face?
Grave
nice and well. And I don't think Chaol knows how to follow up his threats.
I agree. Now, as a reader, seeing both Chaol and Celaena willing to kill for each other, it's super reassuring. You know, these are our protagonists. They're in love. They're going to win the day. And that just adds to how fucked up things are going to get.
God. I was listening to an old episode and I was like, I'm going to crack some champagne when Nehemia dies.
I mean, we do have champagne. We should have added that to one of our things.
We drank a lot last night, so. Although no hangover, just really tired. The last note for this chapter, Chaol tells the rebels that they are fucked. And see, I wrote even fucked in my own notes. I stood no chance. And they laugh it off. And they're like, oh, what are you going to do about it? And he was like, she's going to come get me. Watch out. My girlfriend's going to come kick your ass. And then Chaol says, like, I wasn't talking about me. And then the captor goes, she's just one girl. At least Chaol knows that his girl's going to fuck shit up again. My notes are, woo!
No hope.
No hope. I'm the real Star Wars. New hope. No hope. Oh, God. We went to a Star Wars bar. Everything is weird. Anyway, there's this that, if you're going to belittle someone, you're going to belittle a woman, it's always when they call you a girl.
Yep.
It's always girl. It's always an insult. Sip. Chapter 28 starts and Celaena is on her way to save Chaol. And we've thoroughly established that this is not a Celaena that the readers are familiar with. Quote, her rage took her to a place where she only knew 3 things. That Chaol had been taken from her, that she was a weapon forged to end lives, and that if Chaol was hurt, no one was going to walk out of that warehouse. I wonder how much of her own reaction, anger towards Chaol is that she's still stuck in this mental killer state, like killer mind state. I mean, it's such a horrible combination of everything, right? Like she's freaking out that it's happening again, right? Oh my God, this is just like Sam. But then it's also this has to compartmentalize and go to like a weird dark place. And I don't think that's the kind of thing that you can come out of. And in many ways, you can see a lot of clues that she is Fae in this whole description. And we're going to get a lot more of that, of how fast she runs, of how she moves, of how she snarls. And again, her clear mind is being removed and taken away here. Our girl is ready for battle, and there's a lot of symbolism. Quote, she'd taken every weapon she could fit onto her, including Chaol's sword, which was strapped across her back with a second sword of her own, the 2 hilts within easy reach over her shoulders. From there down, she was a living armory. There's something about the 2 swords working together. Like, that's also the sword that he was like, hey, you should use my sword to fight Cain. And then Nehemia was like, or you use a wooden stick. And she used the wooden stick. So that the sword has a lot of meaning because it's his family sword. And, here they are coming together. And this will be like the last time that they essentially come together. And I just also like that she's wearing the family sword because just chapters before he was like, oh, my dad would so freak out if he found out that I was with Aderlin's assassin. And it's like, hey, Aderlin's assassin is using the family sword to save your son.
Yeah. Disgrace, dishonor upon your family.
Dishonor to you, dishonor your cow.
It is also very symbolic in this moment that she has both a sword of her own as well as Chaol's family sword because they are both aligned. She's going to later abandon that sword when she runs back to the palace. And that is so symbolic of the separation that's about to take place between Celaena and Chaol as well.
Oh my God, Amy, your notes today.
I know.
Wow.
It's all SJM. It's not me.
No, it's you.
As Jack said earlier, when Celaena thinks about how armed she is, she calls herself a living armory, as in like a place that stores weapons. Now, Celaena in this moment is kind of embodying the whole my body as a weapon by having so many weapons strapped to her. The visual is important because she is later going to deconstruct it. And so I'm going to put that out there. I'm going to put a pin in it and we'll come back.
body as a weapon thing reminds me of, remember in college I got like, I did MMA like all the time. I got like certified at one point. I didn't keep track of like what belt I was. It wasn't about that. I just was like, I'm going to just fight a lot. And they're like, here you go. This is like a certification of something. And I was like, awesome. And when they hand it to me, goes, by the way, if you get into a fight, you officially have to say, I know enough MMA, like watch out, I know stuff. Otherwise you could be charged with assault with a deadly weapon. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I was like, I'm a deadly weapon.
My body is a weapon.
I will say 15 years later, not so much.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day. I want to highlight some good description on SJM's part. Quote, the usual sounds of the slums greeted her as she approached the enormous 2-story warehouse, half-feral orphans screeching to each other, the splattered of drunks pissing against the buildings, harlots calling out to prospective hires. It's just such a good description. Like, it's so visceral. You can just feel and hear and smell all of it. Don't need to call them harlots. Not really cool with that, but you know, I'm all for it. It's heightened, very heightened sense of hearing. Faye?
It's also a stark reminder that things aren't pretty outside of the glass castle and all the finer things that Celaena has been surrounded by that have honestly contributed to her complacency. She is descending into real life, and she's not going to be able to get back on that pedestal of like the easy life that she's been hanging out on. When Celaena gets near the warehouse where the rebels are gathered, she's scoping out the situation and sees how beat up Chaol is. Quote, the ice in her gut spread through her veins. Again, we're continuing to see the Ice Queen imagery. And again, it's because it's the exact opposite of her magical power, which she can't access. This is the human side that has survived since emerging from an icy river 10 years ago.
Yep. Oof. It's just kind of like more trauma, right? It's like,
yeah.
Do you want other memories of horrible things that happened to you? Let's add some ice.
Well, I think it really, and I'm going to make this comment later, but I think it all comes back down to the night her parents died.
Oh, yep.
The way she internalized Sam, the way she's going to internalize Nehemia, it all comes back to her parents.
Not saving her family.
Yep.
We get this moment before Celaena that I find to be symbolic again. A lot of symbolism happening here.
Lots of symbolism.
Quote, she tipped her head back and gave the moon a wicked smile. She'd been called Aderlin's assassin for a reason. Dramatic entrances were practically her art form. We talked a lot about the moon representing truth. And while this is actually like a very truthful statement, like she is in fact making a dramatic entrance, she is in fact Aderlin's assassin. But I also want to remind us that we've associated the moon with Elena quite often, and it almost has this sacrilegious feel to it, where she's looking at the moon, smiling at the moon before committing this atrocity. The night is, like we keep talking about, is more than saving Chaol. It's about her not being able to save Sam, and it is wonderful because we aren't even having to make a point because she says it for us. Quote, she had made a jump like this once before, on the night when her world had been shattered completely. But on that night, Sam had already been dead for days, and she'd leapt through the window of Rurik Farron's house for pure revenge. This time, she wouldn't fail. It's so similar to how Sam died. Like, it's almost like SJM was like, we're going to make this match as closely as possible so that we can get all of these old feelings as surface level as possible, so that once we realize that he's safe, she can project that loss and the panic to Nehemia. And she's hyper focused on all of this because she failed Sam, she failed her parents. She feels like she keeps failing people who die around her.
This is the part of the story where the Fae magic pauses for capitalism. This show is sponsored by Liquid IV. It's starting to get into hot weather here in California, and both Jack and I are weaklings when it comes to the sun. One of the things we always make sure we do is hydrate, but especially with electrolytes.
I think it's a well-known fact amongst our friends that I drink Liquid IV daily. I try to drink 3 liters of water a day, and my liter that has my Liquid IV is always my favorite one, and I save it for my midday water because it's my happiest water.
Happiest water.
It is my happiest water. It brings me the most joy because it's the most tasty.
I'm so excited to try the new Arctic raspberry flavor. I love raspberry, and I love the idea of it being icy cold.
Plus, Liquid IV has sugar-free solution powders as well by LIV Hydroscience for smart hydration.
Just 1 stick and 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone. It has 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink, 8 essential vitamins and nutrients, and is always non-GMO, vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, and soy-free. Squeeze the most out of your summer with Liquid IV. Tear, pour, live more.
Go to liquidiv.com and get 20% off your first order with code BookTok at checkout.
That's 20% off your first order with code BookTalk, BookTalk, at liquidiv.com. Growing up, my parents were obsessive about the chore charts and the stickers that we got to use to track our chores and what each completed chore was worth in money.
And now with Acorns Early, you can apply that to today's kids with modern technology. It's genius. Acorns Early is a smart debit card and money app that grows kids' money skills as they grow up.
Start with the in-app chores tracker and teach your kids the value of $1.
Then let your kids set up their own savings goals, start building healthy money habits early.
Make them work for that PS5.
Absolutely.
Kids can spend what they've earned with their own customizable debit card, giving them the extra sense of independence.
Plus, with Acorns Early, spending limits and real-time spending notifications, parents always stay in control.
This is definitely something I would use if I had kids because I love nothing more than teaching hard work for reward.
This is what's going to happen when I have kids. You're going to be teaching my kids with Acorns Early.
That's exactly right.
Ready to teach your kids the smart way to earn, save, and spend? Get your first month on us when you head to acornsearly.com/booktalk or download the Acorns Early app.
That's 1 month free when you sign up at acornsearly.com/booktalk. BookTalk.
Acorns Early Card is issued by Community Federal Savings Bank, member FDIC, pursuant to license by MasterCard International. Free trial for new subscribers only. Subscription fee starting from $5 per month unless canceled. Terms apply at acorns.com/early terms.
Parents of tweens, if you're familiar with far-off drop-offs...
Dad, stop, right here.
Or get DMs about what's for dinner, you may be experiencing tween milestones. For your son or daughter, these can start at age 9. HPV vaccination, a type of cancer prevention against certain HPV-related cancers, can start then too.
For most, HPV clears on its own. But for those who don't clear the virus, it can cause certain cancers later in life.
Embrace this phase. Help protect them in the next.
Ask their doctor today about HPV vaccination. Brought to you by Merck.
Hey, let's talk about your expense report.
I didn't submit an expense report.
You will. Custom saddles and dog training services are not within policy.
What are you talking about?
SAP Concur uses advanced AI to audit and automatically detect out-of-policy expenses. It's the breakthrough I needed to focus more on our future.
These are my future expenses?
Yes, and self-defense classes are out of policy.
I'll need self-defense classes?
You will.
For what?
It's a big dog.
SAP Concur helps your business move forward faster. Learn more at concur.com.
We're back in Chaol's point of view, and he watches Celaena massacre a bunch of these guys. And, remember before he was like, I will rip you limb from limb. So this is Chaol's point of view of everything. Quote, and at last, after all these months, he saw the lethal predator he'd expected to find in the mines. There was nothing human in her eyes, nothing remotely merciful. It froze his heart. All right, a little hypocritical. Mr. I will rip you apart limb from limb. Mr. There's also this idea of I knew this was going to be you the whole time. I was waiting for this to be you. I knew the true you was going to be there, and I just had to wait for this true you to be there. And, we've always talked about Chaol seeing a very honest and true version of Celaena. That's been our ongoing thing, is that he's the only one who gets her, except now, because I think, although even now he still does understand her of just she is not human. She is extremely, she is very much disassociated. It is terrifying. So, even in this moment, it's he's actually still right. This is terrifying. This is not who you'd want to go to bed with cuddling right now. But my question then ends up becoming, does Chaol view her differently now? And does it really make a difference? And does he love her? Because would he still love her after this? Because hypothetically, let's say Nehemia doesn't die. would the relationship have been strained? Because right now, it feels like a lid's been taken off of a jar, the kind where all the snakes jump out at you, and you can't put it back together because right now, like, all of his fears of who he thought she was is now true.
Yep. And, well, so to answer your question, let's also stop and think about the fact that he's the one that has brought it out of her. She is doing this for him. And I'm going to talk about that again in a little bit, but I want to go back to an earlier part of the quote that you didn't read, Jack. Quote, "She was a whirlwind of steel and blood. As he watched her cut through the men as though they were stalks of wheat in a field, it froze his heart." Celaena is a force of nature. She destroys resources, she cuts down men with no effort, and it freezes his heart. I don't know that he would have been able to live with her, knowing that she has instilled enough, whether it's fear, terror, apprehension in him, that it's frozen his heart. You know, other SJM couples get turned on by this kind of shit. I don't think Chaol's on that level.
You bring such a solid point. There's no like, I like the way she's cutting that man up. It's like, oh fuck me, what is going on? Yeah, I think it's a fair point. We'll never know, but it definitely would have altered their relationship quite a bit.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if he would have been able to forgive himself. I think it would have been one of those things where I can't forgive myself that you had to get to that point.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that she would have been also equally upset with the fact that he's like, "I always knew you had it in you." And she's like, "Well, yeah, duh.
It was always there.
And like, you're going to hold that against me?"
And it's going to continue to be there.
Right.
I think we embrace the killing calm. I don't think either of us have it in us, that calm. I don't think we'd be chill.
I don't know.
We wouldn't be this cool.
Okay.
I can guarantee that.
Fair.
I think we'd get one, at least for me, I would get one good hit really cool and then be like, oh shit. Celaena is no longer herself. And honestly, it is freaking fantastic setup for the end of the book. Quote, "She wasn't ready for the bloodletting to end either. She wasn't ready to give in at all." Very Fae. Very animalistic, very aggressive. We are getting Aelin, right? Like Fae Aelin here.
We're also reminded of how this is an art form. So before she jumped, she's like, dramatic entrances are an art form. But here we're also getting another reminder of how this is art. Quote, "There was nothing but metal ringing and the shouts of the injured going down around her, and she was soaring through them, delighting in the feral song that sang through her blood and bones. Death and fighting, as we've seen consistently throughout 2 books, is art to Celaena. And quite frankly, this is an expression of love. This is her creating a masterpiece for Chaol.
Yeah, he should appreciate it more.
Exactly. This is why they can't work. He cannot appreciate the ultimate form of art that she has created.
I feel like the way that he reacts is, 1, the most true reaction from him.
Yeah.
And 2 is the most, yep, they could not be endgame.
Yep, exactly.
This was the most well done part of all of that, in a sea of things that wasn't done well, but we'll get to that. SJM is doing a fantastic job showing us that Celaena is lost in the past, as we keep saying that. Sorry, guys, I'm just reading what I wrote. So, she's redundant past me. And it's not about saving Chaol. It's like every single trauma we can possibly get. So it's like more reminding of her trauma, even as she is killing everyone. Quote, "And then that rage, the rage that blurred the events of the night she'd been captured with the events of this night and made Chaol's and Sam's faces bleed together, seizing her so fiercely that she reached for another dagger strapped to her waist." I mean, this can relate to another night where people died, and Celaena has lost all connection with reality. And I agree with something that Amy said, is that Sam was a hyperfixation for her family, and now Chaol's a hyperfixation for Sam.
Yep.
And then Nehemia will be a hyperfixation for all of the above.
Exactly. And I think that's important for readers to really realize right now, that Chaol is not the one dominating Celaena's thoughts throughout all of this.
Yeah.
It might have started because there was a connection between Chaol and Sam, but it really ultimately becomes about Sam and her parents.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's so easy for Celaena to project Sam onto Chaol and then project it onto Nehemia, because it's always been about Sam or always been about her parents.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, Celaena is trying to reclaim the past and change it. That's what's happening right now. But you can't change the past, and life is going to double down and bitch slap her across the face and say, nope, you can't do that.
Woo!
And I think that ultimately is why Nehemia's death is a turning point, not because Nehemia is important, but because for the third time in Celaena's life, someone important to her or someone important died by association to her or her family or her position. And I think it's because it's the third time that's when we see a change in Celaena Sardothien.
Yep. Absolutely. I'm going to point out when logic doesn't exist, when things aren't earned throughout this entire episode. I have a feeling Amy will be doing the same thing. And the reason why we do this, and the reason why I'm going into this mentally when we're doing this analysis, when you have something that's going to change the whole course of the story, of this book, of this series, it needs to be rock fucking solid. In my opinion, I don't think there should be any gaps for questions. I don't think there should be. I want to be able to walk away from this in 5 books from now and be like, that made perfect sense. Now, maybe some of my things I'm going to point out in book 5, 8, 9, who knows? Well, there's no 9, but like maybe later on there'll be moments of clarity that I just don't remember. But until then, here are some of my sticking points. Archer sets up Chaol to make him look like a bad guy by telling Celaena that Nehemia has been brought in for questioning. Quote, "But it's not questioning that they're going to do tonight, is it, Captain?" Chaol didn't answer. She didn't care why. Okay, so how does Archer know? Does Archer know about the plan that she's dying? Like, because they really he makes it clear that he knows Nehemia is about to die. And the king was never going to kill Nehemia. He was going to question her. So why is he so, I'm confused. I'm like, does he know that when Celaena leaves, she's going to find a dead Nehemia? And then at that point, are Nehemia and Archer working far later? And, they didn't, because I think it's implied they're like, well, she stopped trusting me and didn't tell me things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it seems like she told you this plan.
Yeah, it is confusing. And, either Nehemia told him or he has some other informant, but we never know who or what that is. Like, it's not linking. There's a missing link in the chain fence.
Also, logistically, we know that Celaena and Nehemia got into an argument the night before. Then from there, Nehemia goes to Elena and says, "Hey, ho, what should I do?" And Elena was like, "You know what you got to do? You got to exit out of this earth." And from there on out, they have to then set up this whole like fake assassination thing. And there's just like, it's a short amount of time, you know what I mean? And the whole like questioning is just, yeah, there's a lot of, I have questions to this that I don't know if they're ever answered, but if they are, please reach out to us and tell us, because I need it to make sense. And you can't have something this big in a book and not have it be rock solid.
Yep, I agree. Now, before the chapter ends, now that Celaena has found out that Nehemia is in trouble, quote, Celaena turned to Chaol. His face was stricken and pale. Now, Celaena in this moment is if not registering, she's seeing Chaol's reaction. And we're going to find out later deep down, she knows that he didn't really mean for this to happen. However, in this moment, her anger, her fear, her anguish, her trauma override all that information. But don't worry, I am here to point out the information so that you don't forget where Chaol stands.
Yeah.
Take a sip.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
The way that if I was Chaol, I would be like, yeah, question. And like what? I would immediately be downplaying it so fast. Be like, it's no big deal, babe.
Yeah.
It's just a question. It's nothing.
I was told it was just questioning.
I mean, but yeah. Chapter 29 starts, and Celaena is now racing back to the palace. The trauma of reliving the past events with Chaol and Sam is now to Nehemia. She just has been running a lot. It's been, I could not. Again, can't run to save you, but I could squat to save you, Amy. That's what I can do. Not a quote. Not again, she told herself with each step, each pound to her heart. Please. The fact that Nehemia is now getting this transference of Sam is, I think, going to be another big part of why Celaena's not going to think too much on who Nehemia is and is going to really idolize her in her own mind. And that's kind of what happens when you lose people in really traumatic ways. Like it takes a long time for you to remember them as they are. And I'll get to that point, but now we're seeing that transference immediately shift to Nehemia. With Nehemia, though, as she races to save her, Celaena's mask is now breaking. Quote, "She was Aderlin's assassin. She was Celaena Sardothien. She would not fail. The gods owed her. The word owed her. She would not fail Nehemia." We've gone from before she was just Aderlin's assassin, and now Celaena Sardothien has crept in there, and you don't have the same distance that she had with saving Chaol, right? Saving Chaol, it was Aderlin's assassin, that's it. And there was that disassociation. Now we're seeing the layers of armor that Celaena's been building up, shedding, and with that, taking on this trauma even more so. Also, it's the idea of failing that makes the betrayal of Nehemia so much worse, right? Like, she's capitalizing on the fact that Celaena's going to feel like she's failed her because Nehemia didn't just get herself killed. She did it in a way specifically to make Celaena feel like she failed, which again makes me think, how much control did she have? Like, did she help Archer kidnap Chaol to make sure that Celaena would not be in the castle when this happened?
I have theories that I will save for later, but let's all remember that Elena needs either Celaena or Dorian to break.
Yep. I make notes of that too. I'll make a point of that also. There's a little 2-for-1 in here.
Yeah. Before we get there, though, I want to talk about some of the imagery from the start of the chapter that I think is important symbolically for what is going on for Celaena mentally, especially as we proceed into the second half of this book and then into Heir of Fire. When Celaena starts sprinting to the castle, quote, "Celaena hurtled through the city streets, discarding her cloak and heavier weapons as she went, anything to give her additional speed." Now, in many ways, Celaena is disrobing herself. She's disentangling herself from the weapon identity that she put on to save Chaol. She was prepared mentally, physically, for Chaol to be used against her. She was not prepared for Nehemia to be used against her. And I think I want to argue that symbolically, what we're seeing here is Aelin losing her grip on Celaena. Because after this, Celaena can no longer be Celaena. She's going to look like Celaena. She's going to sound like Celaena, but she is going to start losing her identity. And that's conveyed here in this disrobing, in the letting go of the weapons. And I say that because why else would Chaol start to suspect her of having a different identity? And why would she confirm that different identity by the end of the novel, if this is not the turning point for the loss of the identity?
Yeah.
One last thing before we go into the next chapter. As Celaena is racing, there's some more symbolism in, quote, "A clock began sounding somewhere in the capital, and a lifetime passed between each booming peal." It's ominous, it's threatening, and also, what clock tower booms? The palace clock tower.
It's like a bad one? I don't know. The palace one. Yeah, that one.
The palace one.
Yeah.
The evil one.
You know, evil clocks, they boom.
Yeah, they do.
They do.
Take a sip.
You're killing it, by the way. Yeah, no, before we take a sip. Good
Thank
job.
you. I was really feeling myself today.
Yeah, really, though. All right, now take a sip. We enter chapter 30, which is us actually entering part 2 of this whole book. And part 2 is called The Queen's Arrow. And you get so many options of what Queen's Arrow gets to mean. It could show that Celaena is now a tool, a weapon, you know, that she is now the Elena's arrow. Or it's Nehemia who is the arrow and is killing herself off because she's been commanded to die. And she is Elena's arrow. So many options.
Actually, that's a really good point, because when we think about part 1, that is the king's champion. And that was the identity Celaena had at the start of the novel. So now we're switching to this new, or, you know, the identity that's taken over. And that is basically being controlled by Elena.
Yeah, it's a bad identity to have.
Yeah. The other thought that I had was the arrow of Diana.
Oh, yeah.
Deanna.
Yeah.
which is, again, from Throne of Glass novel, the first one. And it's actually a clue that Chaol references back to figure out Celaena's identity.
Yep. Nehemia's death reaffirms everything that Celaena has thought. Quote, when it had mattered most, Celaena hadn't been there. Nehemia was gone. And this is the journey that will be like her entire thing, right? Is that when she's needed the most, when she needs to do the most. And I just got really sad thinking about her whole story. She's going to give so much, and she's just going to feel like she, when it matters most, when she needs to give the most, she'll constantly feel like she's just not doing enough when she's just doing the best she can.
Which is a lot more than a lot of other people.
I promise you it's more than what I would do.
Mm-hmm.
Guaranteed.
Same.
I just had a random thought as I was typing this. I remember you were sitting there. You're folding laundry, and I was like, wait a minute. I have a random thought. Oh, wait a minute. I already addressed this random thought. Did I address? Okay. Hold on. Give me a second.
Yeah, but go ahead and say it again because it sets up for what I want to say.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, so back to my random thought, which I've been discussing this entire time, is that I wonder if Nehemia has helped Archer set up against Chaol because A, how would he know about her being questioned? B, she knows that in order for Celaena to be truly devastated, okay, now I have other thoughts.
Wait.
Hold on. Maybe I'm spoiling a future thought. Hold on.
No, keep going.
Okay. In order for Celaena to be truly devastated, she has to make Celaena feel isolated, which means that she has to get rid of Chaol. And I wonder if she was trying to get them together in order to tear them apart.
That was exactly my point.
Yeah.
Like, why else would Nehemia go to Dorian and say, don't get in the way? Unless she had an ultimate plan. Like, it was never about making Celaena happy and then her getting jealous of that happiness. It was always about making Celaena happy so that she could make Celaena sad.
I think I make the point about using Dorian and everything in another part too. So I'm just like doubling up on them. Like, I think I have that bullet again later. And it is like, it wasn't about Celaena being happy. It was knowing that at one point, Dorian or Celaena would need to be isolated.
Yep.
And would need to feel alone. And in order to do that, you have to remove Chaol.
Yeah, for both of them. It just makes, and I know it's Elena pulling the strings.
But it's Nehemia agreeing.
And doing it and doing the dirty work.
Like, you can say no. That's the thing. Is like,
yeah.
I think what makes it hard is that we see Celaena say no time and time again throughout this entire series when she knows that something is wrong. It doesn't matter if it's destiny. It doesn't matter if there's other things going on. Celaena will and has and can say no. And if we're putting all the pieces together, Nehemia never did.
Yep.
Dorian, in the meantime, like sees Celaena running past him, and he decides to follow her to Nehemia's room. And at this point, Celaena is way more fae than human because she strokes his neck. Quote, her nails were dirty, bloody, cracked, so gruesome against the smooth white cheek of the prince. It's very gender reversal of Snow White almost, where it's like she's like the decrepit, evil person with cracked bloody nails, and down his pearly white, skin white cheeks.
It's also a good reminder that she is a predator. Like you're saying, Jack, everything alludes to her faeness. And she's been a predator against the rebels. She's a predator now here in Dorian's presence. She hasn't turned that off. And you know what? Chaol hasn't forgotten that. And he's finally caught up to her.
Yeah. He's just like, bro, I took a horse. And she's so fast. She killed so many people. And now she's about to kill my best friend.
Yeah.
Chaol shows up, and there's something about his voice that I think Celaena is like, here's someone I can attack. And while it might be like, oh, here's a person I can blame, she actually doesn't have that full mentality just yet. Mm-hmm. But it is something unleashes in her. Quote, she slammed him into the wall. The stinging pain burst from the 4 lines she gouged across his cheek with her nails. It's very meant to be animalistic, right? Because animals have claws, and her nails are going to be repeatedly referenced throughout this chapter and the next chapter. And there's something about, though, that her nails are cracked and bloody, And then they're even more damaging while she scratches him. And we're going into that animalistic territory and not, pretty feminine nails.
Right. Honestly, it's surprising that he doesn't get an infection from the amount of climbing she's done with those cracked and bloody nails.
So much dirt and bacteria.
Yeah.
We've already talked about the drunkards pissing on the side of the street and the harlots and the orphans.
Nope. This is all I forgot in Heir of Fire. We learn that Celaena's human form is considered her quote unquote animal form.
Mm-hmm.
And so even though we have often been attributing the animal side to her fayness, which I think is still true from the fae perspective, this is her being her animal self.
Yeah. I mean, because if you think about it, who's the one who's doing all of this are humans.
Mm-hmm.
They're the animals. They're the ones who set her up to be like this. They're the ones who put this plan into motion.
It's true.
They're the animals. It's us. We're humans. We are the animals. Again, some more animal descriptions. Quote, and then she was snarling like some kind of wild animal as she snapped for his neck. I mean, literally being called a wild animal. And the fact that she's snapping for his neck, that's brutal. She is I will bite you anywhere and kill you any way I can. And I wonder if this memory is going to be what disturbs Chaol at the very end, because once he sees Celaena in her true fae form at the end, he's going to be real disturbed for many reasons. But because at this point, we're going to know in this episode that he starts to question Celaena. He's going to tell Dorian, she ran really fast.
Mm-hmm.
That's not normal. And now she's snapping at him. And there's this animalistic side to her that when he sees the fae side of her, I think this is going to be a moment that he's going to think back to.
Yeah.
The reality of this version of Celaena really hits Chaol hard. Quote, but the Celaena he knew was gone. The girl he'd imagined as his wife, the girl he'd shared a bed with for the past week, was utterly gone. Her clothes and hands were caked with the blood of the men in the warehouse. It's more so than it's this is so, this is a murder. It's also very much a removal of the feminine, right? He was just calling her the girl that was going to be my wife. The girl I shared a bed with, implying sex, is gone. And now we have an animalistic beast.
Yep.
So all traces of the feminine has been removed.
And therefore all the human as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think it also, all of this ties back to that symbolism of Celaena getting rid of her weapons. The weapons, the woman, the girl whose body is a weapon, the girl who loved Chaol, they're gone. They've been shed. And instead we have this female warrior beast who ultimately is closer to Aelin, who is not human, and therefore is someone Chaol doesn't know, and I don't think could ever really truly love, based on how he's going to react.
Yeah. I mean, maybe if he had time to process.
Maybe, yeah.
I think he will love her, but he would just need a lot more time to process. And one of our listeners makes a good point later in the questions. Someone sent a message just saying, a reminder of Chaol was raised with a racist, horrible, abusive father.
Yeah, that's true.
And he's done great on his own, but there's going to have to come with a lot of deconstructing.
Yeah, deprogramming.
Yeah.
That makes sense. No, I think that's a great point. I think that his first instinct is who could love a beast,
Yeah.
However, with time, could he have loved her? I certainly think he loves her in a platonic way by the end of the series, but
at that point they had broken up. I think if he had thought that there was an opportunity, because I know that ends up being in future books kind of a where do they leave things off situation. And I know that it's not the most cordial of moments. I think with Chaol, he has enough honor in him that he has committed himself to her mentally that he would try.
Yeah.
Would he be able to succeed? Maybe. I actually am not entirely sure. I think he would because of his honor, but I don't think it would be natural.
And I don't know that Celaena would be happy enough with it.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to part 1 of this week's episode of Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy. Stick around for part 2, which airs on Thursday.
We encourage you to rate and subscribe to our show on your preferred podcast listening platform. We would also love to hear your thoughts based on today's conversation. You can submit your comments to our form at booktalkforbooktalk.com for a chance to have your feedback discussed during a future mini episode or a Patreon exclusive episode.
If you're enjoying the podcast, please visit our website, booktalkforbooktalk.com, to view our latest merch and learn about supporting the show through Patreon or Venmo. You can follow us on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube at the handle BookTalkForBookTalk. Bye! This show is sponsored by Liquid IV. It's starting to get into hot weather here in California, and both Jack and I are weaklings when it comes to the sun. One of the things we always make sure we do is hydrate, but especially with electrolytes.
I think it's a well-known fact amongst our friends that I drink Liquid IV daily. I try to drink 3 liters of water a day, and my liter that has my Liquid IV is always my favorite one, and I save it for my midday water because it's my happiest water.
Happiest water.
It is my happiest water. It brings me the most joy because it's the most tasty.
I'm so excited to try the new Arctic raspberry flavor. I love raspberry, and I love the idea of it being icy cold.
Plus, Liquid IV has sugar-free solution powders as well by LIV Hydroscience for smart hydration.
Just 1 stick and 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone. It has 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink, 8 essential vitamins and nutrients, and is always non-GMO, vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, and soy-free. Squeeze the most out of your summer with Liquid IV. Tear, pour, live more.
Go to liquidiv.com and get 20% off your first order with code BookTalk at checkout.
That's 20% off your first order with code BookTalk, BookTalk, at liquidiv.com. Growing up, my parents were obsessive about the chore charts and the stickers that we got to use to track our chores and what each completed chore was worth in money.
And now with Acorns Early, you can apply that to today's kids with modern technology. It's genius. Acorns Early is a smart debit card and money app that grows kids' money skills as they grow up.
Start with the in-app chores tracker and teach your kids the value of $1.
Then let your kids set up their own savings goals. Start building healthy money habits early.
Make them work for that PS5.
Absolutely.
Kids can spend what they've earned with their own customizable debit card, giving them the extra sense of independence.
Plus, with Acorns Early, spending limits and real-time spending notifications, parents always stay in control.
This is definitely something I would use if I had kids because I love nothing more than teaching hard work for reward.
This is what's going to happen when I have kids. You're going to be teaching my kids with Acorns Early.
That's exactly right.
Ready to teach your kids the smart way to earn, save, and spend? Get your first month on us when you head to acornsearly.com/booktalk or download the Acorns Early app.
That's 1 month free when you sign up at acornsearly.com/booktalk. BookTalk.
Acorns Early Card is issued by Community Federal Savings Bank, member FDIC, pursuant to license by MasterCard International. Free trial for new subscribers only. Subscription fee starting from $5 per month unless canceled. Terms apply at acorns.com/early terms.